Hello there, and welcome to my Arty Corner here on YouTube. Angela Porter. I love to draw, and I love to encourage other people to draw and to develop their own way of doing it and become comfortable with it. And I share how I think about art and what I think about how I do it, which doesn't necessarily mean it'll be the right way for you, but it's a way. And there are many ways to get to the same kind of place when it comes to drawing. Here I've got my accordion journal that I've been working on since, I can't remember when I started it, a few videos ago, but made from ready-made, sort of like blank greetings cards. They're in craft paper, so I've been adding gold to them. This one, I don't know what I'm going to put in these spaces yet, but we'll get there. And in my last video, I created this little card here. And you might think, Angela, you're going to do that one. No, not in the mood for small stuff today. Need something a bit bigger. So what I've done here is hopefully you'll see this. This paper, it's by ClaireFontaine, and it's called Paint On Multi-Techniques, and it's natural. So it's a tan coloured paper. It's got a smoother surface to it than, say, I've got some Fabriano toned paper, which has got quite a textured surface. It still wrecks my pens quickly, because it is quite rough all the same, because it's meant for mixed media, which means you can do just about anything on it. But I thought the tan colour might look nice against the brown. So I did this before I started. I cut this paper down to 8 inches by 5.5, folded it in half. I used a bone folder and my cutting device thing, paper trimmer, and the gap that the blade runs under to be able to score a line there, which makes it easy to fold. And then I've got choices about what I do afterwards, because part of me is thinking it'd be quite nice to stitch this in or to put it in as a series of 4 pages. Or I could do something where I have some thread or of some kind looped through here and perhaps on the other side, and then I can put this in and perhaps some other signatures in, other folded pieces of paper in of different sizes, different colours. That appeals to me. Oddly, I've got another one here, but when you stack them together, they do end up, when you close them, the inner one sticks out a bit, but I can trim it, it's not a problem. But I just thought that could be a lot of fun to do. So I'm just going to use one today, and I'm just going to use one side. So I shall move this out of the way. Tell me if you ever get fed up of seeing this, won't you? And what I've got here is one of my sort of like visual dictionaries, visual references, my pattern and motif collections. And La Tene Culture art. Ooh, I may start with something like that actually in a moment. But I often use those when I need that little bit of inspiration that perhaps I'm not getting, when I don't know what I want to do, but I get a starting place for it. And this is just, it's actually another dot grid journal, and it's by ClaireFontaine. And they are relatively inexpensive for dot grid journals. And I will put the names down in the description. I will do my very best to write in the description what materials I'm using, and just about I say everything I get from Amazon. I don't. This paper I think I got from a sort of art supply store here in the UK online. I certainly did get the Fabriano tone paper from the same place, but I can't remember what it's called. So all I've done here, that one's a bit smaller than the others, so let me have a look. How big did I make that? Oh, that big. I find rulers like this incredibly useful because they mean that you don't have to faff around quite so much measuring stuff out, which actually suits my sensibilities. So I'm all right with maths, but when you've got a grid on, I just think, 3 lines, that'll do. And it does, generally. Just removing the one that was the narrower one, and I'll just pop that one there. And yeah, I've got multiple kinds of rulers. I've got a bit of a thing about rulers. I have a problem is I'll put a ruler down and I just never quite know where I put it. I'm looking and looking and looking, and it seems to be right under my nose, and then when I look up it isn't there. Or, I can't see it, and so I go and find another one or buy another one, and then suddenly I go, oh, it was right just there, right in front of my eyes. Does anybody else have problems like that where you can't see the wood for the trees really? Okay, I am going to do something. I'm going to use some of these ideas from Tene Culture art. Tene is early Celtic art, Iron Age often, but it's seen in various cultures around the world, and I love it because it's got spirals and curves and asymmetric shapes. And this here, I actually looked at some Tene early Iron Age art and I thought, oh, I really like that pattern, copied it down, and then I went, damn, that is well, or a well variation, a Zentangle pattern. So these kinds of patterns have been used for millennia. It's probably since humans began experimenting with patterns and shapes way back when. Sort of like the cave paintings and so on were Iron Age, so way before the Neolithic. Can't remember the dates, but just interesting. Okay, so I am going to start. I think I'll start up here, sort of towards the top third. It doesn't have to be exact, just somewhere up here. I'm going to draw 2 concentric circles. There's likely to be a lot of chat from me today, because I've got tales to relate, as it were. Okay, but I need to concentrate on this first. So my first job is I'm going to create a spiral, not as accurately as our Iron Age ancestors did, but it's good enough for this. And then what I want to do here is I want to create a shape like this inside there. So what I did was I've started a little, it's probably about the opposite side of the circle. Followed this along, looped out, and a longer loop back there, so it's an upside down U or a little N or a backwards R or whatever shape you would like to call it. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to create inside this an aura. Zentangle terms an aura. In Angela terms, I'm just drawing a smaller version of that line. I'm just drawing this like this. I'm going inside this. Whichever makes you happy to call it. And it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. But I am going to follow this around. And this isn't Tene. This is Angela Tene. Well, actually, that would be a silly thing to call it. But I just thought it might look nice if I do something like this, which is very Angela. So I brought this around to the other side here, a little bit past where these meet, looped it over, and to create or to finish this this little section here off. Now I've put a circle there, and I am going to add another aura around here, and every now and again I'm going to stop, put a break in, add a little bead, because that's how I think of them. So if this was made from metalwork, these would look like little metal beads in 3 dimensions. This is a nice way to break lines and shapes up if you wanted to create a kind of stained glass look as well. I think this might, how many beads have I got? 4. was going to leave this as my last one, but I'm not. I'm going to put a 5th one in. Just there. And these in-between shapes, which look a bit like sausages, they're different lengths, slightly different shapes and so on, and I'm fine with that because this will well, it won't disappear, but it'll be part of the pattern, and overall you will see how things are. Now this one here, this last one, I'm going to take it back towards that point. I'm going to allow it just to join on. So that is my first kind of version, or first part of this. And I quite like this as a starting point to grow out from. So I'm just going back here, and in between each of these beads and their sausages, bead and sausage sandwiches. Ugh. A bit crunchy. And then in this section here in the middle, this section here, I'm going to bring this shape out by drawing a smaller version of it inside, like so. Now I'm going to have to use colour or something on this to help to bring these things out, but I don't think I'll be doing that this video. We'll see what happens. So I quite like that. That makes me happy. That does. And I do want to do something up here. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to draw a circle here. And I am going to aura it on the outside. Gosh, it's been a long time since I've done anything with Tene, or early Celtic art, Iron Age art. But it's one of these things that I absolutely love from the first time I saw it, even though I didn't know what it was called. Not necessarily the Celtic knot. I do like Celtic knot work, but this is just so lovely. And then what I'm going to do for the next bit, this is making it up as I go along, which is fine by me. I can do that. Is I am going to draw another circle up here. These circles that aren't centred are quite a feature of the art. And then what I'm going to do is from this side, I am going to draw an arc around like this. So it sort of follows this outer circle, but not quite. And this is where the fun bit comes in, is here I'm going to want to come around here and then come out like this. So I'm going to go up and around because you might see it a bit better, hopefully. Like this. So we create a kind of leaf or a, this lovely shape here. Again, I'm going to aura that there as if there's a bead. I'm going to add some line weight to help to differentiate things. Fill in some of the corners. Here I think I'd prefer to have quite a bit of black there just to fill this in. Perhaps just put a bead there. And perhaps another one there. And there. One there. And one there. Which will be where these kind of sections are delineated. And then making a mess, but it's going to end up looking quite complex given how relatively simple. Somebody's going to tell me off for saying it may be simple for you, Angela. It's very simple shapes. It is all one step at a time. And the overall finish looks really complicated, but when you break it down to these individual shapes and you start with something simple, but I started here with a circle, then the spiral out, and I came back and added bits to that spiral, then I put the circle here, and together they look very complicated, which they are in essence, but to get there is just these simple steps. The trick is being able to see what those steps are, I suppose, and I seem to have a knack for doing that. And I'm not being big-headed about it. I'm different, sort of like the patterns that Thomas Padros comes up with, for example. My brain does not work in those ways. And his are just absolutely fantastic. Mine, not quite that. Though I am known to, I'll play with patterns and see what happens. And this, I think here with this one, I think I'm just going to put another aura in there, just to create that like a bead. So that'll work quite nicely. This inner section, I'm going to pop another bead there because that needs it. I could have popped a small one in there, but I'm not going to. It's going to end up rounding this there. And I'll put a nice bead there. And just round the corners there, just to give me that shape inside. And I'm going to leave that as it is for now. I like that. I don't know what you think, but I do like it. So I'm going to think about what I can do next. And what I'm going to do next here is I'm going to give myself something I can grow things out of. So I'm just auraing that shape here. Perhaps if I go and work from the side, you'll be able to see my pen easier. Like so. So I've got this lovely series of concentric arcs, nested arcs. I've been away from social media and YouTube for a little while over the weekend, and there's a very good reason why, but I think I need to tell you what I'm going to do next with this lot. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is for this one I'm going to use this shape here. So I'm going to come back almost to a full circle, but not quite. And I want to curl this over like this. And then I'm going to give myself a little point there, and then I'm going to draw quite a tight little circle or part circle around. And I'm going to bring this all the way back here to finish this last little arc off. I like that shape. So much so, I'm going to do something from here. So if I zoom in, see, I should have done that ages ago. I'm so out of practice of doing videos and so on. It's been over 2 months since I injured the muscles between ribs and where those muscles attached to the bottom of my shoulder blade. And although the muscles are fine, there seems to be some ligament or tendon damage. So I get sore still, but in different ways to how I used to, and stiff. And after such an extended period of time, from going from making videos daily to making them as and when I'm able to, or where life isn't crashing in on me, or that I'm not in too much pain, or I've had so much work to get done in a short space of time. Today is a day where I'm waiting for news as to what I need to do next. It's the cover for the next book, but I need to know which designs so that over the next couple of days I can work on that. Then I've got the last coloured illustration for Whimsical Houses to colour in. I've done the others. The 4 of them I do. One's the cover, 3 are inside. I've done the other 3, so there's 1 left to do. And then I'll have some time to try and get back into the rhythm and swing of things. But everything, my routines, the things I used to do regularly, changed so much with the injury, and it's hard for me to remember what they were. But I will figure it out or create new ones that suit me as I am now. Okay, so it's kind of around, almost, you know, almost like we're starting to spiral in, but I'm stopping here, then I'm hooking back. So it does look a bit like we've got a little bit of a fish hook here, but it's not going to be a fish hook. So this little bit here is going to circle around here, and we're going to allow it to bulge out a bit and then come back in, and I am going to take this one around to have it connect to this bead here. So it's another kind of layer going on the outside. Here I'm going to fill this with a nice big bead orb, as they call it in Zentangle. And I've got these lovely shapes here. They're not perfect. Oh, La Tene is just so perfect. But they're good enough. And they're good enough for me to do other things with. And what I am going to do with these is I am going to see this hook here, this bit here. I'm going to take it back and look, it's a muka style thing. Because again, these shapes have been around since, well, humans started drawing most probably. And inspiration comes, artists use inspiration from all kinds of places, from the past, the present, and even sometimes we think we're making things up that nobody's ever used before, and then suddenly, you know, you're looking for something else for reference and you go, oh, somebody did use this. Now this one I am going to stop at my edge there, my line. And that is my start of this. You're going, oh, no more of that, Angela. Not quite. Not, well, I say quite. Perhaps not quite. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I do want to add one more thing, and you can do this like so. I am going to put a nice big orb with a inner one in there. This bit here I'm going to make a little bit longer so that I can connect it like this. And then this part is going to just join here, just like that. In sort of like Tene Culture, it would actually stop here, but I'm going to do something with that because I'm going to split this then into 2 sections. And this one I am going to keep as if it were a piece of Tene, which is I'm going to pop a kind of S shape in there, a little humpy S. And what's more, I'm going to add an aura to it so it looks like it's a section there. So this is an interesting shape. It's got an interesting line here, and I'm going to make use of that by auraing this like you would something like senna, I suppose. But I'm going up to my pencil line. This one went out. I may actually that would be quite nice, as would that, that and that. So I've staggered them back to the pencil line there. It creates something that's a bit like a wing. Then I'm going to add some more, I think. This reminds me a bit of the Tangle Pattern Senna. Not really looking where my pen's going. This is one of the things that I do that is a bit daft, and I need to get myself out of the habit of, is I need to stop looking ahead to where I want to go next and focus on what I'm doing at the moment. So that creates a nice shape here. And what I'm going to do as well is I can see here, this reminds me of a ginkgo leaf kind of shape. In the book I did the variation of well, where these shapes come out. Very much it's a Tene Culture shape as well. So I'm going to create that here, that shape here, by starting here and just finishing that arc off, like so. And I'm going to bring that shape out just by putting an aura inside. Simple things like this, which are really simple to do, they just add that layer of complexity. And so far I've used very simple lines and ideas, it's just putting them together. Excuse me, tea. Okay, so, and I can see as well, see I've got this V shape here, so guess what? I'm going to create that shape again here. And what's more, I'm just going to aura it. So I've got two of those beautiful shapes going on. In fact, this shape here is one of them as well. It's a bit squished on one side, but I'll put that there. And in this area here, it's begging for something just to go in here. And I think this will actually make some kind of sense, perhaps, of that little space there in some way. Yeah, I'm going to turn it into an eye. Kind of, or a bead. Your choice, however you want to see it. Okay. I'll leave this little section up here for now because I'll think on that. What I need to do to these though, because I've been making a bit of a pig's ear of them, I'm going to go back and I'm just going to thicken the ends of these. Add some weight just to tidy them up. But if I do it to the ones that have been mucked about and I do it to all the others, then it looks deliberate. So don't ever be afraid of having mistakes or things where your attention goes elsewhere, because we can always make use of it. Okay, and I think I'm going to do the same kind of idea with the ends here, where I'm just going to thicken those ends. Add that little bit of weight. And in some of these corners where I haven't done that yet, including these, that little bit of ink just makes the whole world of difference in picking things out and helping things to feel finished, or there's just something about it. I've done it for a long, long time in my art, long before I found Zentangle. Same with these beads and sausages. Do you know, can you spot another place where a ginkgo leaf type thing can go? Here for sure, there's another space up there, but I think I'll have the third one down here, because I think that then will create a nice edge here for whatever comes next. And what's more, I will thicken that end, and if I thicken this end as well, it looks like it's supposed to be that way. Around the corners and at the bottom, and then I can go in and add this. Okay, so that is just so nice. I like this. This is something that I think I really needed to do today. I've been drawing an awful lot of my creepy cute monsters, which is great, and I'm not giving up on them. There's stories to be told with them, I'm sure. And sometimes you just have to do other things as well. Have a break. So, while I'm doing this and finishing it in, as I'm doing this kind of thing up here, because there's very rarely a space that Angela does not fill with pattern. My weekend was filled with good intentions. The ones we had a couple of power cuts within minutes of each other on Thursday evening, and it doesn't do computers any good. So in the back of my mind was, my computer is it's a few years old now. Still works excellently. Still really speedy, copes with all the graphics programs and everything else that I run, and I love it. I love the screen for being able to draw on, in terms of digital art. Saturday I thought, right, it's time. I haven't backed up my files, my work for quite a while. It turns out a couple of years. So I thought, right, let's download everything that's on my hard drive onto the external hard drive. There's enough space there. Get it all saved just in case, because I've got books and things like that. So I did this, at which point the computer just froze up on me at one point. Wasn't doing anything, refused to do anything, and basically just, I had to restart it. So when I restarted it, nothing happened. I mean, I restarted it, it powered down, came up, and I just got a black screen. Then I got the thing that was going round and round and round and round and round and round, and half an hour later it was still going round and round and round. So my computer takes, I don't know, it seems like forever, but it's probably about 10, 15 seconds to boot up, which compared to when I had it new is a long time. So I restarted it again, same thing happens. Restarted it again, same thing happens. So I by then I'd gone into full panic and flap mode. Oh my God, I got work to do. How am I going to scan it in? How am I going to get it off to my publisher? Oh my God, what if my computer's died? At least I've got my work. Have I got my work on the hard drive? It turns out, no, I didn't, because it hadn't copied that over properly. Oh my God, panic and flap. So I sat staring at the screen for another while, and it just carried on and carried on. I thought, oh no, right. Okay, on my phone, let's have a look. What computers can I get? What do I want? Oh my God, I don't know. I've got to talk to somebody, because there's just so many brands, so many specs and so on. So I went to a local shop that does electrical goods and computers and all sorts of things. And I said, I know what I need. I know I need something that's capable of running graphic, sort of digital art programs. The recommended is a minimum 4 gigabytes RAM, because I know this stuff. Preferably 8, but more the merrier. My computer at home I think this one is 64. Ridiculous amount, yes, I know. And okay then, well, we haven't got any in stock because we don't stock them, but let's see what we've got. So went through, I said I wanted one I could draw on a screen. Microsoft and others are out of my price range at the moment, and I'm really irritated because you cannot upgrade these things. So we settled on one which was an Asus Zen book, and the term Zen book suited me, Zen, because I try to keep calm and chilled. And it wasn't till I had it delivered the next day I realised that the logo on it looks like a Star Trek communicator badge. It's brilliant. The design in the middle of it, I went, yeah, that's just it. So I did all of this. I was there, paid for it, organised the next day delivery, which was given to me free of charge, which was brilliant. And went home, thought, oh, go and see the computer. And it started itself up. It was waiting for me to log on, which I did. And it took a little while to log itself on and start everything up. And I thought, blimey, it's working. So then common sense kicked in. Okay, I can put this on sleep rather than turning it off. Now it's on, I'm not turning it off because I may never get it back on, and I've still got to try to get files off there. And I made a real pig's ear of transferring them over. That's a different thing. And then there was, oh, can I cancel that computer? No, Angela, you need another computer just in case, because you never know what's going to happen. Okay, so I stuck with it. But talk about flap and panic, which meant that Sunday, the new computer arrived, so I had to sort that out, get it set up. Yesterday, I was doing the same kind of thing, still adding things to it. I'm not sure I'm going to like drawing on the screen because the pen, I didn't check, but the pen came with the computer. I ordered one, and the only one I could get was on eBay, and I can't return it. So I've got 2 pens for this plastic computer, which is fine because I'm likely to lose one at some point. Okay. So I've now got in my Amazon basket a Wacom drawing tablet because I'm not sure I'm going to enjoy drawing on this computer, which means I probably could have got one for less price and bought the Wacom anyway. And they're going, oh, so I'm in full sort of like stress mode still. The cortisol levels shot through the roof on Saturday and haven't come down. They're slowly coming down, and I'm absolutely exhausted today. And the worry about whether I should or shouldn't have spent this money, because it's tax time in the UK, honestly. So basically, this is where I have been because I just didn't know what was going to work, what wasn't going to work. Luckily, the camera I've got, the microphone I've got for YouTube, are just plug and play, so they can go into this laptop, no problem, they'll work. And all my software, the important software's on there. I've just made a mess of the file system from the external hard drive, and it's trying to upload it all to the cloud. And I don't want it in the cloud, and it won't stop doing it. And if I delete it from the cloud, it deletes everywhere. And you're there going, oh, for goodness sakes, why is this so complicated? So art. Yeah, so I've been focusing on monsters and this. And I'm sorry, that was a long story, but I just wanted you to know. And you're there going, how could just something like that come through? Because if I didn't have deadlines and work that had to be done, I'd been rather chilled about it, but I instantly went into panic mode because it's, oh my God, what about the work? Because I knew YouTube, social media and so on would survive, and it would be there. And of course, if I'd lost my work, it was, oh my God, I can't find it. What if it's not on the hard drive? I haven't put it anywhere in the, I'll have to ask for it back. And I'd done some work where I'd just coloured some, I kid you not. Flap and panic. Flap and panic. Anyway, so I have got this so far. This corner I'm just going to finish off like this, but I am going to do an aura inside. Very, very Tene Culture inspired there. And I do have a lovely swoop and swirl here, or, this lovely shape here. And I think I'm going to sort of make use of this in some way, because I do want to do something here. I'm trying to think what kind of pattern or motifs I can put here. Very, very structured here, very asymmetric, quite abstract, not very abstract, But I don't really want to put a geometric pattern here, but I wouldn't mind having some quite organic shapes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take inspiration from the inside of these shapes here, where it looks like there's a muka there. And I'm going to do my mukas a little, well, my typical way, which is having a spiral inside and either a small bead or in this case, I've got like a little leafy shape there. And then I'm going to use this to have some grow, to have just one to begin with. We'll see what happens. Now this is interesting. I didn't realise this had spilled out, but it's all right because I can actually finish this here. I'm going to finish it with a little bead like so it ties in elsewhere, and that just creates that little bit of an overhang in a nice way there. And then, oh look, I've got this shape again, haven't I? Except this one, I think I'm going to do this a little bit differently. So I'm going to put a leaf shape here. And I'm going to do the same on these. And yeah, I know this one bulges out and it should be similar to these, but it's not going to be, because I really can turn this one then into a leaf. I've swapped to an 03 pen here, and if I show you, these are, oops, put it the right way up, Angela, Unipin pens. They're from Uniball, fine line, so I'm using an 05 and an 01, and they are pigment ink, which means they're water and fade proof. They're fairly waterproof. The pigment doesn't all sink into the paper, so if you use water soluble media or alcohol markers, you can get some smearing of the black ink, but the way to prevent that to a great degree is to leave this to dry for a day or two before you add any colour, but also to use an eraser on this to remove any pigment that remains. So there, I've just popped like a leaf there because I can. And then in the centre of this, I'm going to do the same thing that I've done in similar shapes around here. And I'm going to put a bead in there. Fill the rest in with black. And I will just draw a smaller one inside because that makes sense there. Okay. Not too keen on this here. I will come back and do something with this, possibly. We'll see. Okay, so I've got one muka here, so let's have a look and go for some more mukas. And I've just realised that unwittingly I'm creating another pattern that is quite reminiscent of the Tene art. Spirals feature so much in it. I think that's why it appeals to me quite as much as it does, because I really do love spirals. So that is quite a nice little shape there. It's a bit wobbly and wonky, my line, but I'm okay with that. Partly it's because this pen is coming to the end of its days with me. And I think I might do perhaps a row of them along here. So I've had a bit of a weekend, to say the least. And I'm paying the price for my flap and panic. And both financially is, you know, I say neither here nor there. I could have done without spending the money on a computer, but I now have a backup, so that's peace of mind. And for some reason as well, I was talking with a friend who said, well, you've got one now that's portable. And I don't question when this friend tells me something like that, because in some way it actually makes some kind of sense that, in other words, yeah, you'll need one. So I go, yeah, okay, I'll live with that. So I'm going to do the same with this particular muka as I did to the previous one, where I drew along here, draw this one, and I'm going to go back towards the start of this, but I'm going to put a bead in there and then I'm going to join this on. So it's those little beads are adding that little bit of variety to the pattern. Just around these, you can see how I'm doing this. So here I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come along here, I'm going to create a muka that touches that one. I'm going to take this back, finish a bit short here, add another bead, and then making a right mess of those, but they'll be fine. And then I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going around here, and then come back, draw one of my beads in there, connect that and fill the little bits in. I quite like to fill little bits in as I go along. I can find it frustrating to go back and do it because I know I'm going to miss some. I still miss them when I do it this way, but okay. And then the last one here is just going to be one that goes here. I'll bring that back, and this one won't have a bead on it. So I think that will help me to create some interesting edges here. It looks like a scalloped edge. There we go. So that works quite nicely. So it's drawing them in one direction, the whole length of the muka, and then starting here and going back. The next one joins to that one and so on. And we get this lovely sort of wavy pattern of spirals. I quite like that. I do like that. Okay, time for something different. So, I've opened my page at this. These are all patterns or all motifs inspired by the work of Yellena James, Yellana James. Absolutely beautiful stuff she does. Very abstract botanicals, very underwatery, very dreamy and beautiful. And they're things I recognise from nature as well. And so I just think that this would be quite nice to add some of these motifs here. And I am turning this upside down because I am going to start with a nice big arc, like so. And then I'm going to use my pencil and I am going to draw a nice sized arc around this. And I'm going to draw a slightly narrower one inside, and you will see why in a moment. There is a method in my madness, possibly. Because what I'm going to do here is in this section, I'm going to draw some zigzags that are about the same size. Each zig or each zag, each little pointy triangle without the bottom, about the same size. And that's the reason I drew these lines, was to do that. You can do it freehand if you prefer. Now I am going to take a smaller, finer pen and I'm going to join the bottom of these as if I'm drawing towards the centre of this circle here somewhere. It'll be about there. And I'm going to do the same for the top. And the next one, the top, the next one, top, next one, top, and there. And this ends up looking, well, it depends how you add colour or shading to it, but it can look very dimensional, very almost mechanical in some ways. But it's not perfect. It's not drawn with compasses and protractors and rulers and straight edges and parallel, set squares and goodness knows what. So it is completely freehand, but it gives this beautiful, beautiful kind of shape. And I'm going to draw another one next door. I've got enough space here for two, but I am going to do some things with this. So I am going to draw in my art, or perhaps arches here. Perhaps like that would be a good one. And I'm going to start at the here. That makes some sense. These are a bit mismatched. It's not a problem, honestly. So I've got those. They're not as even as the other one, but once you start putting these lines in, it's not going to make a great amount of difference. You might notice the lines get closer together by the time they touch this inner circle, and that's as it should be. It is the way. Sorry, my head went to the Mandalorian when I said that. Yeah, if you don't know, I love Star Wars. Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Terry Pratchett. Yeah, all sorts of things. But on the edge here, I'm just going to give us a bit of a scalloped edge just to make that there. So we've got that. And that actually seems to fit in quite nicely. I'm quite impressed there. But what I would like to do with one of these, do I want to do it with one or both? Shall I? No, I'm not. So on some of these, I am going to add something that looks like a seed or two. I'm not going to do it on each and every one of them. For some of them, just have them like so, and perhaps another one that will just fit there. I love this kind of pattern of things. So I am going to continue creating a drippage of them. Very technical term, it'll look like they're dripping off this, I suppose. Which suits my sensibilities. The gaps between them I don't think I'm going to fill in. I think I'm going to leave them as they are. They add some lightness as well, and I can always go back and add ink if I want to afterwards, but I may not want to. As if I add the ink, it's not easy to take it away, so I'm going to add perhaps a little one here that will, just a couple of little ones that will just help to connect things together, perhaps, like so. This looks a bit awkward here, as does this, so these can have a little one. I think I can fit one in here as well, because that will make sense there. And then perhaps these here. Now that's got a nice shape to it, the way that they're dribbling down. And perhaps I could just put a couple more in here. What is nice about these shapes here is that these black edges here, they really help to bring this section out and put this back behind, if you know what I mean, helps things to stand out. And I think we'll need, that one's overlapped a bit more than I would have liked, but it'll be fine. So some organic gloop, and I actually think I want it to join here. This one's going to overlap as well, but I'm fine with that. It's the organic gloopiness. I will put some black in that little bit there. Perhaps something here. And I think here I'll need something as well. And then it's got that feeling that, yeah, we could do with some here, but I think I'll have something else going on. Okay, so, alright, so I want to add some other things here. And I think I'm going to go back to the idea of these kinds of arcs like this. But I'm going to do something that is perhaps reminiscent of crescent moon, but I'm not doing dark bits inside. So I am just going to create these semicircular layered pattern shapes like so. And it will all be fine here. And they can go off in different directions. They don't have to go in the same direction. That's the fun of these things, is that they can grow in however you want them to grow. And yeah, I've gone outside my line a little bit, but that makes sense in the context of these beads, I suppose. My little seeds there. That actually makes a nice counterpoint to these patterns. The circular nature of this particular element I'm adding and the seeds is a nice counterpoint to the zigzag edge of these, and I'm tempted to thicken this outer edge, but if I'm going to add colour or shade, that will stand out. I say if I'm going to, of course I'm going to, because it needs it. So we're getting there. Nearly done. I would have had it done sooner if I hadn't been storytelling, and I can't storytell and draw apparently. True story though. Kid you not. I am exhausted at the moment. I really am. But I did go out for a walk. Still pretty chilly here, but it's been sunny today. Still lots of frost and ice and snow around, especially in the shady places. But it was really nice to be out in the cool air. It was fresh and so lovely. And just moving my body was actually pleasant, and that is not something I say often. But I just needed to do it. It will help shift the cortisol, hopefully, as well. Cortisol is the stress hormone chemical that's produced when you are stressed, and it causes all kinds of problems in your body, wreaks havoc, and it can take a long time to go back to normal levels. Don't know if I've ever had normal levels of cortisol in my life, to be honest. But okay, I'm just adding some more of these here because I just think that we could do with just a couple more little regions just to balance that one out. So I've got one collection of some that seem to be dripping down. And I may just pop some in here as if they're creeping out from somewhere else, because they look like they would creep out, don't they? I don't know if that made any sense at all. Am I talking rubbish here? Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely I am. Am I worried? Not too much. Nonsense creeps out, so my seeds can. My seedly things definitely can. There we go. So that just adds that little bit of interest here. And I am going to add some here, and perhaps some just like that. And then I can finish this off with some of these arcing patterns. I say arcing because that's what they're doing. They're full of arcs and arches. Perhaps I can just pop a couple more in. This is a dance really between the two patterns until I get something that I'm happy with, that will work for me. And I think this will. I've got this little space over here, and I'm so tempted to fill it with these little seeds, but I'm not going to. I am going to fill it with partials of that pattern. And that, and I will zoom out. Oh no, try the right button. There, press the wrong one. So you can see that that is what I'm really quite happy with. I've got a space here, and I think this will do nicely for some of these little seeds actually. I think they'll fit here nicely as well. Some hiding underneath them. And that'll be quite nice there. And up here I've got some space for them as well. And yeah, that one will stick outside my edge. But I think it'll be okay. In fact, I think it needs to, because we're going to take these up to the spiral-y, mookery things. And that actually makes a bit more sense. Just realised my tea's all cold. It'll be fine, I drink cold tea anyway. So that is my design for today. One of them, well, one. You do know that this accordion book is going to become quite a weighty thing, quite a hefty thing by the end of this. I didn't realise it. That was the case. So what's quite nice about this is I've got a lot more ink at the bottom, but the patterns are a bit simpler in construction, and yet we've got echoes of shapes and ideas. So we've got beads and seeds. We've got these lovely arches here like this. I've got spiralling patterns here and spirals here as well. Even this, we've got these arches here again, but we've got these quite dramatic shapes, and at a stretch you could say that they're a bit like this, you know, the edge of them. So instead of joining them up this way, we're joining them up this way, I suppose, in a different kind of shape. So they are all related. The only one that's an odd one is that one single leaf there. But do you know what? I'm fine with that. And the one last thing that I need to do is I'm going to pop a bead hiding underneath here, and I'm going to put my initials in it. And I'm going to call this one, or this drawing, done. The only thing I need to do is to remove the pencil, which I will do in a moment. I've got an eraser here, I've got a kneadable eraser. And so I can remove my pencil, which will help clean this all up. The next thing I've got to think about is how on earth I'm going to add colour to this. I could use Inktense pencils, which would suit me. I do have some pastel pencils here somewhere. Chalk pencils, chalk pastels. And I could use those, not my favourite thing. I will not be using alcohol markers. Coloured pencils are possible, but I think I'd prefer to use those in combination with something like Inktense. And because I've got this tan paper here, I need to be aware that the colours that I use need to work nicely with this. And I think that will work with me in a nice way, because I would rather like to use sort of almost like metallic, not metallic, but sort of like rusty browns and greens and blues and so on. And perhaps, you know, quite a dusky purple, and see what happens, and oranges, or that lovely yellow. But I think I'll leave that for another day. Let me know if you want to see me add colour to this in a video. I'm not going to do it now. I'm not going to start it now. It's an hour long already. And I need tea. I need lots of tea while I'm processing the video and what have you, and uploading it. And how would you colour this? What colours would you use? Let me know. You know. Yes. So thank you for listening to me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for bearing with me while life is throwing so many curveballs at me so often these days. It's ridiculous. I'm sure there's a me reason for it, she says. No idea what it is. I'll tell you what, it's absolutely stunning out. The bottom of the valley, because I live part way up a hill on the side of the valley. The bottom of the valley is in shadow, but opposite me, there's mist hanging in the air, which is catching the last rays of the sunlight. And so you go from like a silvery white mistiness that is just cloaking the trees lightly in gossamer, up to the mist that is catching the golden colours of the light. And the trees and the hills over there look quite blue, like a deep blue-grey through the mist, and to the tops, which are golden greeny, I suppose, colour, because the greeny colour of the grass that's showing through, and then white for the snow that remains. It's going to be a lovely sunset tonight. Yes. How lovely. Right, I'm going, because I'll talk forever. Look after yourselves. Take care. And find time to be creative, and I'll see you in the next video. Fingers crossed it won't be too long. Okay, ta-ra for now. Bye.